Yes. Welcome back to episode 334 of the Purple Rain podcast. The Alex Collins, rest in peace episode. Keaton Mitchell episode. Lorenzo Taliaferro, rest in peace. Ricky Williams, Tyson Williams episode of the Purple Rain podcast. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with us. Have a whole lot of good news to talk about on our behalf, I'd say. Oh, and even more good news there. But welcome back to this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. First and foremost, you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. On Instagram. I'm sorry, I lost my mind, but follow this guy on Instagram or on Twitter at SuttonDef or X. Follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod or on X at simplyas10. Most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. Go in there, use code PRP for 20% off your whole entire order and free international shipping. The best deal on the internet. Man, oh man, a lot of news to talk about. A nice Ravens win to talk about. NFL news to talk about. Whole lot of stuff. I don't know where to start, but how are you feeling? It is the first victory Monday of the 2025 NFL season.
Man, I'm feeling groovy, to be honest with you. I'm feeling really good, and my dog is letting me know too. He's feeling good as well. We were celebrating a Ravens W pretty much the entire day after 4 o'clock, So I'm feeling good. I'm glad that the Ravens are back in the win column. I want to get into the game. I'm so excited to get into this one because there's just so much to talk about, so much to break down. Not even just with this Ravens team. I mean, there's a lot of big news going on around the AFC North as well. So, but before we get into all of that, we do got to pull up who we have here in the live chat. We got D, the official, in the house, says, "Yo, Rain Gang, what's going on, D? Appreciate you for coming through." Sam in the house says, "What's up, guys? What's going on, Sam? Appreciate you for pulling up." Engineering Designs in the house says, "What up, gang? We are officially back." Sam also says, "Should be the 2-0 Ravens, but we move." Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I mean, I'll tell you what. I'll take 1-1 over 0-2. You know what I mean? I'll tell you that much. And I don't want to say that that's shade, right, to a certain, team that plays in Missouri, right? But at the same time, would not want to be in that situation. Now, we'll get into that a little bit more in the later in the episode. But we got Brandon Lewis in the house says, "What's going on, Brandon? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well." Yeah, make sure if you guys are just getting in here, make sure you like the video. That's going to drive more people in here, more people to the conversation. We greatly appreciate it. If you do enjoy the content that we give you here on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, right? Make sure you hit that sub button, and then also hit the notification bell so that way you stay abreast to everything that the Purple Rain Podcast has coming out. You'll be the first one to be let known by YouTube and the algorithm and all those things. So make sure you hit that notification bell. We'd greatly appreciate that too. Shout out to everybody watching on Twitter. Right now, if you're watching on Twitter, aka X, whatever you want to call it, shout out to you. We appreciate y'all for coming through. Andrew G in the house says, "What's up, fam? I hope y'all are well." Doing great, Andrew. Yes. Appreciate you for coming through. King Trent TV in the house says, "What's up, bros? What's going on, brother?" Appreciate you for pulling up. So yeah, Alex. I mean, again, lots to get into. I want to kind of preface our review of the Cleveland Browns game with just kind of giving, just like a little summary. Like, how did you feel? Because you were at the game. So I want to get your experience, Alex. Like, how was the bank home opener, 30th year anniversary celebration, and a Ravens W? What was the vibe like?
I mean, it was cool. Nothing like insanely crazy. I don't think it's like the loudest game I've been to, but it was cool. Had a lot of former Ravens there. The end zones were absolutely insane in person. Beautiful to see. Would love to keep that design for certain games. Would love to, maybe get some throwback uniforms once, but really cool. My first home opener, honestly, the first game I've been to where like I've been hot, so that was good to see. But I was a little worried about last year in the Raiders because it was a similar day, similar weather, warm. But overall, good day at the bank. I mean, there were a lot of Browns fans, not a lot, but a good amount. Wearing Joe Flacco jerseys, cool. That's the reason he starts for you right now. But outside of that, it was a good day. Didn't really worry too much. I'll get into how I felt throughout the game, but a good win overall. And when you're able to kick back your feet in the fourth quarter and watch DeAndre Hopkins score a touchdown in front of you, and then Dylan Gabriel comes in, it's a good game for you. So 1-0 in the division first and foremost, 1-1 altogether. But it's something we can pick up and move forward. So hopefully a snowball effect with the Lions coming to town next week with their high flying offense that we saw yesterday.
Yes, and just really quick, a lot of Ravens fans already. I was actually listening to Charm City Sideline podcast. Shout out to those guys over there. I was listening to their reaction episode to this, and they were kind of like bigging up the Lions a little bit. Like this is going to be a super stiff and tough challenge for the Ravens. But I remember the last time the Ravens played the Lions, and I remember it being 28 nothing in like the third quarter. And not to say that that'll be the exact same thing that happens in this game, but what these NFC teams, man, I don't want to talk trash, too early, in the week, and especially not too early in the episode. But these NFC teams, man, I just don't think that they see this Lamar Jackson led Ravens offense enough, to really kind of like stymie it. So if they want a shootout, if it's a shootout they want, it's a shootout they'll get. But I did think that the defense made a major step forward in this game against the Browns in week 2. So we'll get into all of it. But let's start with the offense, right?
Mm.
Let's start with the offensive side of the football. So obviously Ravens win 41-17 home opener. They're now 1-1. Let's start with the some stats here. So Lamar Jackson in this one, a lot of people kind of had mixed feelings about the game Lamar Jackson played. They said, the first half and the second half were obviously kind of like night and day. But let me go through his stats here. So he was 19 for 29, 225 yards through the air, 4 passing touchdowns. He was sacked 3 times. He only had 2 carries for 13 yards. So I mean, Lamar Jackson, what did you feel, Alex? Let's toss it to you first here. What did you feel about Lamar Jackson's performance yesterday against the Cleveland Browns overall?
All right, please don't kill me in the comments. I think for his standards, it was a mid game, and when you look at the box score, like he had 4 touchdowns, but I don't think he looked his best throwing. I didn't think he was making the right decisions running the ball. I think he had some lanes he could have taken, but that doesn't help when your offensive line has Voorhees and Falele. I'm not just pointing at 77. I thought Voorhees had a pretty poor game as well. Watching because I was up above, he got beat a couple of times. But when you have 4 touchdowns, it's hard to critique it. But I think that's just the standard he has for himself. Like people were kind of comparing him to a Jalen Hurts game. And it kind of was, but he wasn't throwing to AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. He threw 2 touchdowns to Tez Walker and 1 to Tylan Wallace, his receiver 4 and 5, another one to D Hop, who's his receiver 3, spreading the
Yeah.
ball around. But they completely sold out to stop the run. So I mean, you gotta that's kind of the problem when you play this offense. Like, okay, you can stop Derrick Henry, but our passing game is wide open. So like, if I were to honestly grade it on like a letter, it's like a C plus or a B minus. That's not a slight to him, but it's more a slight to the offense and Todd Monken. I'll get into that now. If we played a better
Mm,
team, a Chiefs, Bills, hell, even a Steelers, we lose that game. I thought the offense in the first half was absolutely awful. I don't care if we had 13 points. I thought the decision making was awful. And I know we won 41-17. I'm, picking stuff out. But I'm just being serious if you want to be a Super Bowl contender. You're at the 1/2 yard line and you don't score 7 points. That is an absolute failure. John Harbaugh, I don't know why you're running play action and then you get a false start. It's just that really pissed me off. But thankfully we played the Browns. But if it's a better team, I think we lose that game, especially with the way in the first half went. We left way too many points on the board. So thankfully it was the Browns.
yeah, I mean, honestly, Alex, I do disagree with what you're saying right now. You said what, a C plus or a B minus for Lamar
For his
Jackson's
standards.
performance for his standards, but again, I think that the game that Lamar Jackson played yesterday was the game that he needed to play to win that game, which is a vet move, if you ask me. He had a vet game. Like, no, he didn't put up the most, bodacious numbers where he's, 300 yards passing, Jackson 5, and then add another 60 yards rushing on the ground. He didn't do that. And again, you're right. To his standards, that's what we're kind of used to seeing, at least a couple times this season. But in this one, like you said, the Browns were selling out to stop the run. And I think that I have to give credit to Todd Monken for kind of shifting the game plan a little bit to the vertical passing game in the second half, because that was what, like you said, that's what was open. And Lamar Jackson took what was open, and you can't really slight him for that. I could see if he had maybe a turnover or 2 or something like that, but he played a very, very clean game. When the running game was not working, I mean, Derrick Henry had 5 yards on 5 carries in the first half and ended the game with 11 carries for 23 yards. It was just a nothing burger, an absolute nothing burger for the run game, just in general, right? Lamar Jackson didn't even run the ball. So the fact that the Ravens are still able to put up 41 points just off of the strength of Lamar Jackson's arm, I mean, that's a narrative killing, stereotype destroying type of game from Lamar Jackson. And nobody's really talking about it, to be honest with you. By the way, one more thing I wanted to mention about Lamar Jackson while we're on the subject. Lamar Jackson yesterday accomplished something, made history again, right? Made history again. So what was the stat here? What was the stat? I have it pulled up. So Lamar Jackson is now the NFL's all-time leader in passer rating at 102.65 after passing Aaron Rodgers today at 102.6. And
Mm,
Lamar is still the all-time QB leader in rushing yards. So that's
mm.
literally like a goaded combo right there. And not to get too much on, the future of the season and things like that, but if the Ravens were to win a Super Bowl, hypothetically speaking, let's knock on wood. Hopefully it does happen. But if that were to happen, I think that is one of the only things separating us or keeping us from talking about Lamar Jackson and putting him into those almost GOAT conversations. You know what I mean? You would just kind of have to based off of what he provides value wise. And then if he wins that ring, that's literally all that's left for him to do. He's already got all the other accolades, things like that. But no, man, I do tend to disagree with you on that one. I don't think that Lamar Jackson had a mid game. I do think I will say this, and I had this in my notes. He did struggle early on with a couple deep shots to Zay Flowers, kind of missed those, but he got it together in the second half, and I think that that's really all you can really ask for, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to push back on that too. Again, I think the first half, like second half, very really really good. First half though, I think special teams and defense really helped him out. The block punt and the interception, that was huge, and that's not more so on him; it's on Todd Munkin. I thought he caught an awful first half. I don't know what he was
Yes, I
doing with
agree.
passing wise. And then there was a couple of throws that Lamar missed. Like this isn't more on him; it's more on Munkin. That first half, I will stand on it. I mean, not really Chiefs, but Bills, Bengals, Eagles. That's an L for us because we're backed up in our own like 5-10 yard line, and you're running it with Justice Hill, and no disrespect, but they're crowding the box, and you're putting Justice Hill up the middle. Stuff like that, it just cannot happen. And we were lucky to even have 13 points, but the block punt by Hummel that really set the tone. That really helped us out. That kind of like put us at ease. So as for offense, but defense, I have to ask this question: what are we doing in practices? And more so, Marlon Humphrey that pick into a touchdown because
Yeah, yeah,
it's fourth down. Why are we intercepting it instead of batting it down? That once again, we are lucky it's the Browns because that we saw it last week. Keon Coleman tip pass touchdown changed the
yeah,
whole game. That to me it blew my mind. That I lost some head at that moment. I'm like, here we go again. This could happen, but thankfully
yeah.
Roquan and the boys. Shout out to Roquan by the way. But I think played his best game since his debut game against the Saints. And that might be a hot take, but I think that's the best he's looked since his debut with us. That was an unbelievable game.
I agree. I totally agree. I do want to um, respond to something you said about the offense and Todd Munkin really quick before I shift over to my defensive takes. So you mentioned, Justice Hill getting the ball on like second down or something like that. I actually had that in my notes verbatim. So the Ravens' very first drive of the game, 1st and 10, a very obvious run to Derrick Henry up the middle. It gets stuffed, right? And that was out of the gun. That was a run out of the gun. And then second down, and I'll also put this in my notes. After that 1st and 10 run gets stuffed by Derrick Henry, I put in my notes, I said, I wonder if Todd Munkin knows it's not mandatory to start every game with a Henry run up the middle. Because like when you're playing with a guy like Derrick Henry, who's such a polarizing force in the rushing attack, that's the prerequisite to not getting blown off the field by the Ravens for every defensive coordinator. You got to stop Derrick Henry first. So I don't know why Todd Munkin thinks it's a good idea to kind of run him like a crash dummy. And knowing your run blocking is not the greatest, especially without Pat Ricard on the field. Running him into, and I think that the Bills was a little bit of a different story because the Bills just simply do not match up with the Ravens personnel wise, which is another reason I'm super pissed we still lost that game. Browns defense is different, right? This defense knows you very well. This defensive line is stout. Mason Graham, McGuire, of course, Myles Garrett had himself a day, multiple pressures, multiple sacks. The defense is no joke with Cleveland, on top of the fact that they know the Ravens very well. So I think that Todd Munkin's just got to be a little less predictable, maybe even a lot less predictable. But listen to this, though, Alex. So, second down on the very first drive, you get the Justice Hill run up the middle on second down. And that was another run from the shotgun. And I don't know. And then we follow that up with a Zay Flower screen.
Hmm.
Just early in the game, the game plan was a head scratcher for me offensively. But if you fast forward to the first drive of the third quarter, so the second
Hmm.
half, very first play, Ravens run play action on first down. It's a play action boot. Lamar Jackson rolls out and hits Zay Flowers for a big gain, right? When everybody in the world was expecting run to open the half, what did the Ravens do? Play action, Zay Flowers, and that really got the offense going, to be honest with you. We followed that up with a jet sweep from Zay Flowers. And I was like, for everything good we do, we got to do something stupid. You know what I mean? And I was just like, what are we doing? I prefer Zay Flowers in the intermediate area of the field. But that was the same drive that, Lamar Jackson throws the deep ball to DeAndre Hopkins. We all thought it was a touchdown, but they ended up calling it, just short. I'm sure the stadium was going crazy when that happened, huh?
Yeah, big time. I
Yeah.
mean, I had the view of like I was behind him on that, and the way he just stopped and threw it, I thought D Hop was washed. I'm not saying Ravens fans caught him washed. I'm saying another fan base caught him washed.
Yeah.
I mean, he's looked nothing less like it's like 2018 D Hop. 3 targets, 3 catches, 2 touchdowns.
Mm.
Unbelievable. Or no, actually 4 because he caught the one pass in tight coverage against the Bills. I mean, that's why
Yeah.
you get a guy like that. A jump ball, 50-50. He's going to come down with that more times than not. He's been a treat
Yeah.
to watch so far.
And just sticking with the wide receivers, I mean, has there been a shuffle in the wide receiver hierarchy for Baltimore? So we know Zay Flowers right now, bona fide wide receiver one. It was a crazy stat. I think he's got like 20 targets or something like that. I think the next closest receiver has like 8. I want to say something crazy. So Lamar Jackson in this Ravens offense it's clear as day that the objective is Zay Flowers is wide receiver number 1. But that wide receiver 2 spot is kind of interesting right now post this Browns game because obviously going into the season, Rashad Bateman, who we are both huge truthers of here on this show, he hasn't really done anything. He's been very, very quiet. And DeAndre Hopkins in his first 2 games as a Raven, he's got 2, which should be 3 touchdowns already. So do you think that there's kind of like a little shift there? Maybe even with Lamar Jackson's mind, is he looking for a D Hop before Bateman now? What are your feelings about Bateman, really?
I don't know, but I don't like it. This guy had 11
Me neither.
touchdowns for you in the red zone last year. Listen, we've put up 80 some points. So I really shouldn't be complaining about this, but I feel like he's earned more targets this year, especially last year. I think, wasn't dropping passes last year. Was he had the one bad hit him the sun where hit him in the eyes, but outside of that, really reliable. Khalil brings up a good point. Didn't score until week 3 last year against the Cowboys, so that is true. Um, but man, he had that big catch against the Chiefs week 1. I just want to see. I think he opens up another dynamic of this offense, but maybe. And I hate to kind of go this route because I love this guy dearly, but having a tight end right now who really isn't doing much isn't helping this offense at all. It's not, and I'm a Mandrews fan, but it's really sad to see what's happened. I don't know if he just lost that step. I thought maybe like a revenge type season was happening, but it's been pretty poor on his behalf right now with Mark Andrews. And yeah, this I mean, I don't like the ball security on that. I would like 2 hands on the ball, and that's easy punch out for Grant Delpit. Whoop de doo. But Mandrews 3 years ago comes down with that touchdown.
Easy
It's yeah. I think he's just
all
second
day.
guessing himself at this point now in his football career.
Yeah, but like I wanna stay here just for a second. Like, was this a touchdown or not? Because according to the rules, right? I mean, like you catch the ball, you bring it into your body, right? After you catch it, you bring it into your body, 2 feet come down, and you're in the end zone. The play should be dead right there. If we're going strictly by the rules, right? The play should be dead right there, and it's a touchdown. Much like if a quarterback like Josh Allen did when the QB sneak last week against us, jump over the top. As soon as the ball breaks the plane, it's a touchdown. It doesn't matter if somebody slaps the ball out of Josh Allen's hands after it breaks the plane. No, the play is automatically dead. So, Alex, I want to ask you this in chat. Everybody listening right now, if you're part of the hashtag replay gang, let me know. Based off of what I just said, do you think that this was a touchdown or not? Do you think that John Harbaugh should have threw the challenge flag for Mark Andrews in this situation or not? Alex, what do you think?
Before I give you my answer, John Harbaugh has challenged a lot less controversial stuff than this. Harbaugh has thrown it for a kickoff that he thought was a fumble, and it was clearly knee down. He should have challenged
Mm.
this. I don't know why he didn't do it. Look, they quite literally showed this exact replay on the big screen, right in front of this, like right behind this end zone, and Harbaugh was looking at it. I would have thrown it. You're already up at that point, and this offense could use any type of spark. But Harbaugh I don't know what he does with the challenges. Like he'll challenge stupid stuff and then won't challenge, stuff where you have a point or couldn't, get it overturned. So
Yeah.
I think with all what you said, two steps, football move, touchdown. But Andrews does have to do better in that case, in that sense, though. So
Yeah.
still should
You
challenge him.
know, and the fact that this led to the Ravens having to settle for a 30-something yard field goal from Tyler Loop, who he hit both of his kicks yesterday. Shout out to him. Um, I mean, it was just embarrassing, man. That was embarrassing. You're supposed to score a touchdown on that drive 11 times out of 10 if you're the Baltimore Ravens. I see you guys in the chat here. Brandon Lewis says that's a tutty. Khalil Bowling says Andrew shouldn't have. Oh, dang. Got a little spam in the chat. We got to get the spam out of there.
I get
A little
that.
spam in the chat. It's NFL season for you. But Khalil says Andrew shouldn't have even let it get to that point for it to be a conversation. Told you that's Butterfinger Andrew, says Brandon. Brandon Lewis says that's a tutty. Steve-O says he tucked the ball away. Queendom Come says, what'd she say? Definitely a touchdown. Harb should have challenged, but he sucks. Ashley Shelton says this was most definitely a touchdown. I think it's a touchdown. But with a lot of other, much like a lot of other calls that we see referees make in the game, a lot of it is very, very discretionary, right? It's very, very discretionary. A lot of it does come down to the eye test. So I think in like a scenario like this where, I think it was more so because this is Grant Delpit, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Of
yeah, yeah.
course it is.
I think this is more so kind of rewarding a really good defensive play, more than anything, because it was a beautiful punch out, right? Like he hits it right on the nose and it comes right out the back of Andrew's arms, and it was perfect. It was picture perfect. So, but if you look at the rules and you take them verbatim, then that's a touchdown, bro. That's a touchdown. But again, discretionary. It's like it's kind of like the 2 feet. If a receiver catches a ball, on the sideline and maybe he's falling out of bounds or sliding out of bounds, but maybe his left cheek got in or did it not get in? Again, it comes down to refs' discretion. And that was one of these right here. My guy Bradley from Charm City Sideline made a good point. He said that he thinks if Andrews would have held on to the ball for just like a half a second more, you know what I mean? Like a half a
Yeah.
second more. Like if you wouldn't have let the ball come out on the first punch out, but maybe he punched it again and it came out, that's a touchdown.
True.
Right? But the fact that you caught it, you're kind of falling as you're going to the ground and he just punches it out, it's like, I don't know, man. It very controversial. I still think if Harbs would have threw the challenge flag, the refs would have had to look themselves in the mirror and say, okay, catch, secures it to the body, 2 feet down in the end zone, play should be dead right there, touchdown, right?
Yeah, and you bring up the whole cheek thing. I think the first time I remember the whole like cheek was the Johnny Smith catching against us, the
Yep,
Titans Ravens playoff game, and I'm like,
hated that.
how can like a half of an ass cheek equate to 2 feet? You know, what I mean? Like I just don't understand some of the rules. And speaking of refs yesterday, I was pleasantly surprised with the whole Marlon Humphrey roughing the passer. They picked the flag up after the replay assist.
Yeah, I've never
I
seen
did
that.
not see that. Yeah, I was very happy about that because I mean Flacco didn't try to sell it like a certain quarterback in Buffalo tried to sell a quarterback kit yesterday, but he'll keep getting his praises for being a flopper. I'm not gonna name names, but I mean I'm glad they looked at it and said that's not roughing the passer, not unnecessary roughness. Pick the flag up, so that was good to see. But yeah, with Roosh says it here, the stadium was booing Harbaugh yesterday for not challenging that play, as we should have.
Interesting. Interesting. All right, let's move on here. So a couple other things to touch on from the offense, to be honest with you. You've got the Devontae Walker.
Mm,
Tez Walker, you know what I mean? The man who seemingly only knows how to catch touchdown passes, which I'm cool with,
yeah,
I'm cool with that. The two that he got, both deep shots, both beautiful reads by Lamar, beautiful balls by Lamar that he threw. And Tez Walker just came down with it. A lot of people thought that, Tez Walker was gonna be like that next Miles Boykin. You know what I mean? Like just running deep clear out routes for guys underneath to get open. But no, I mean and this is what I liked about the second half play calling. It was focused more on being aggressive and going down the field. It's like, okay, you want to shut down the run? Cool. Let's see what you do with this. We're gonna send Tez Walker over the top. Meanwhile, Zay Flowers is gonna shade underneath. We've still got Andrews on the field, Hopkins. You know what I mean? Like, but Tez Walker really stepped up, really shined, and we saw it in the preseason that week 2 preseason game against the Dallas Cowboys, where Cooper Rush was just going back he was going back and forth, basically just to Tez Walker. Tez Walker. He had like 5 catches in the first quarter. That was when we kind of knew like, okay, this guy actually has some potential to be on the field on Sundays and make an impact. And that's exactly what he did yesterday.
Yeah, and it's good to see. I know he kind of was a question mark if he'll make the roster, but I think after that touchdown last year and kind of adopting the special teams, I think guys are seeing now like a Tylan Wallace. If you do your job and when you're called upon, you make the plays, you're gonna have
Yeah.
a roster spot on anywhere in the NFL, like on most teams. So that was good to see. I'm gonna have to give Tylan Wallace his shout out now because he had a catch for a first down and then the touchdown. Like this, I don't think I've ever seen Tylan Wallace drop a pass, and I'm kind of happy that Ravens fans appreciate him the way they do because guys like that you need to win Super Bowls. And we saw in 2012 with guys, making plays called upon. So I'm happy for Tylen, happy for Tasman. Like I said, our 3, 4, and 5 receivers scored 4 touchdowns together. And
Yeah.
our two had 2 catches, and our one made a couple of big catches as well. Like it's nice to see us spreading the wealth.
Tylan Wallace, man, and like you said, you make a good point. I don't think I've ever seen him drop a pass. Only once have I seen him drop a pass, but I'll put it like this: I've seen him make more game winners, like game winning plays than drop passes in his career. And that's crazy. You know what I mean? So it really does speak to what you were saying. Tisha Brown says it here in the chat. Tylen just makes plays, right? And if you're the type of guy who, you stay down, you stay humble, you put in the work, you do special teams when they ask you to, you just do whatever they ask you to. But when you do get that opportunity and you take full advantage of it, like Tylen Wallace tends to do, you do have a place, like a solidified spot on this roster, kind of clear and obvious there. Mod Roosh in the chat says Tylen is clutch. What's going on, Mod Roosh? Appreciate you for coming through. Hope you're doing well. Let me see. All right, so let's move on here to let's go over to the defense, right? Let's go over to the defense now. Um, Actually, a little in between talk here. Special teams. LaJohntay Wester had himself a nice punt return yesterday. That was
Yes,
encouraging to see. I'm sure
beautiful.
from the stadium angle, that probably looked really good. It looked like he was about to break it. No.
It was close. A shoestring tackle. I think he had just had the punter to beat, but it's nice having
Yeah.
a guy back there dynamic to make something out of nothing. Short field. Surprise, surprise. Give a struggling offense short field, and you score
Mm,
points.
there you go. There you
How
go.
long can we ask for that?
Yeah. I thought Jordan Stout had another good day punting. He's been showing some improvement, like what I'm seeing from him. Let me see. So getting over to the defense now. The defense, I mean, this game started off basically all defense, to be honest with you. I mean, for goodness sakes, I mean, the halftime score was 10-3. The fact that the game ended 41-17, but at halftime it was 10-3, it just goes to show that early on it was the exact type of matchup that we expected, to happen in a Ravens versus Browns 1 p.m. CBS game. Both defenses not going to want to give up anything. And that's basically what was going on in the first half. But talking about some individuals, shouting out some individuals. First of all, we got to give a shout out to Roquan Smith. A shout out slash apology to Roquan Smith because Roquan, he showed yesterday. I mean, I think like so many Ravens, and then Graven actually said it here on our show last week. He said like he can't even remember the last time Roquan Smith had made a game impacting play. Boy, did Roquan Smith hear that. He must have heard
Mm.
our guy Engraven because he came out playing with his hair on fire from first quarter to the last quarter, man. I mean, the guy he was getting tackles for loss. He was blowing up runs in the backfield. The run fits were perfect. He was shooting through gaps. Him and Teddy Buchanan. By the way,
Yep.
Teddy Buchanan seems to be the Ravens' weak side linebacker permanently now, as
Yep.
he completely outsnapped Trenton Simpson. This is for the second week in a row, but this one, it was just a landslide. Very clear and obvious that the Ravens are moving towards Teddy Buchanan and away from Trenton Simpson. But what was your assessment on Roquan? I know the stadium had to be going crazy on the scoop and score. What do you think about Roquan's performance?
I mean, I haven't seen him run that fast in a while. We
Nope.
always make fun of kind of like his build, but wow, he ran fast as hell, and just the way he looked, he was just everywhere, reading out just screens. I think Hamilton read one out, and so did Nate Wiggins. Wiggins, I got to give a shout to after Roquan, but I think
Yeah.
Roquan was far and away. I mean, just the most impactful player on defense. I mean, unbelievable. I just gotta. That's what $100 million linebacker does, and that's the Roquan I know that we were throwing in conversations with Fred Warner. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say one good game puts him up there, but it's something to build off of. And having your middle linebacker play at that high of a level makes his defense just better all around. It makes the linemen play better, the guys behind you. That's what we've been missing. And Teddy Buchanan, Maybe it was Roquan and Trenton Simpson. No, it was Roquan and Teddy Buchanan. That's what we were waiting
Mhm.
for. He was filling in holes. Both of them were blowing up plays. Love to see it. I got to move on to Nate Wiggins next because
Sure, yeah.
he was everywhere, breaking up passes, and even the ones that were getting soft coverage. Jerry Judy, no challenge. Yeah. See, I don't know why you talk trash for a game like that. He had 50 yards, but when you're throwing the whole game, I hope you have more than that. But Nate, that interception was beautiful. Found his hands. We were asking for last year, and should have had a pick six, but I think he was hurt the play before or winded, so I'll give him slack there. But good on Nate Wiggins for getting his pick and giving the offense short field.
Yeah. And right before that interception that should have been a pick six, he had a nice pass breakup. He had multiple pass breakups yesterday. He had an absolutely wonderful game after kind of getting picked on a little bit, in that Bills matchup in week 1. But I want to talk about kind of an interesting stat here,
Mm,
about the defense. So here's the thing. The Ravens for the second week in a row lost the time of possession battle in this
mm,
game, which was interesting to me because I mean that's something that the Ravens kind of, I don't want to say pride themselves on, but like that's one of their weapons, right? Being able to lean on teams with the run game, it just hasn't really been there so far. So the Ravens possessed the ball for 28 minutes and 11 seconds to the Cleveland Browns 31 minutes and 49 seconds. And again, in a game where the run game could not get going at all, that kind of worries me. That concerns me, because against a team that has more offensive firepower than the Cleveland Browns do, that's going to come back to bite the Ravens, I think. And, I know I talked a lot of trash about the Detroit Lions to top off the episode, but that's the type of team with the type of offense, with their running backs and, their pass catchers and the Amon-Ra St. Browns and the Sam Laportas and the Jameer. That's the type of team that will make you pay for letting them possess the ball more than you. So, and I don't want to take it too much off of the defense, even though the defense just played well. They played damn near lights out all game. I want to give another shout out quickly to Tavius Robinson. Tavius Robinson seems to be getting a lot bigger of a role on this defense. Kyle Van Noy went out with a hamstring, and
yeah.
he's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks. That's what was reported by Jeremy Fowler from ESPN earlier today. He's bracing for being out a couple of weeks, something like that. So Mike Green ended up getting a whole lot of play. You know, not to divert too much from my former point. I just wanted to make a few more quick hitters here on the defense. Um, let's talk about this, Alex. Let's talk about this on the defense before we move on. The pressures, right? The pressures, because this is something.
Yeah.
This is something, Alex, that like us as Ravens fans, we have been talking about all off season long. Like, who is gonna be the guy on this Ravens team who's gonna be able to get consistent pressure? And now with Kyle Van Noy out, it's gonna be very, very interesting to see who steps up and who's getting these pressures. So this is from Cole Jackson. When he actually quoted PFF with this, but pressures by the Ravens pass rush yesterday. So Namdi Madubuike led the team with 5 pressures, which again, as an interior defensive lineman, super impressive stuff. He's been really good so far this season. And then following him, Mike Green, Adafe Owe, and Tavius Robinson each had 3 pressures. Travis Jones, Roquan Smith, and Kyle Van Noy had 2, and Awuzie had 1. I believe on a corner blitz, I want to say. But Namdi Madubuike. So, I mean, what do you take from all this, Alex? That the fact that Kyle Van Noy is out, who's going to step up? What's going to happen
Yeah.
with this pass rush, man? Because we're going to need it.
I mean, the clear answer now is a Dallas Cowboy, and that's Jadeveon Clowney,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And that one couldn't have come at a worse time. I don't think EDC had enough time to pick up the phone and try to get him to come to Baltimore. If you hear about Kyle Van Noy, I'll say after 2 games though, I think if I had to do a superlative, biggest disappointment's been Odafe Owe. Uh, Going to a contract year, your first double-digit sacks season, and you've kind of just dropped a dud. Put on this weight. Thought we were expecting more, and it's kind of a lot of it. Like we've had what 1 or 2 sacks yesterday, 3 sacks in 2 games. Like it really. That's the difference between the Mike McDonald defense and then the Zach Gore defense. Kind of what I'm getting at. we aren't really
Mm,
imposing our will on these quarterbacks. We're getting there, but we're not finishing. There were a couple of times I
yeah,
thought Flacco got, he could flush out. Like, why are we letting Joe Flacco, with all due respect, flush out on us? That's
yeah,
really worrying. Um, Van Noy wasn't doing much, I think, even when he was in there. So,
right.
but he'll be a miss nonetheless because I'm not mad Mike Green get more snaps, but who's going to get us, that third down sack? We have the Chiefs in 2 weeks. I'm not going to look past the Lions, but imagine you're in Arrowhead, 3rd and 7. Who's going to step up? I can't really pinpoint our edge rusher now to step up and maybe make a game winning play or game altering play. I just can't.
No, I can't. And I haven't done a deep dive on the film yet, specifically for Mike Green, who is supposed to be, or Ravens fans at least want to be, that next up game wrecking edge who, kind of puts the Ravens in the same realm pass rush wise as a team like the Cleveland Browns, as a team like, the Pittsburgh Steelers, now the Green Bay Packers with Michael Parsons, having a guy like that, like a true game wrecking edge. But from what I see while watching the games on the broadcast angle, man, some of the concerns that I had for Mike Green preseason, like post draft and pre the season starting, they're kind of showing up. When I'm watching these games, like yeah, he's gotten a couple of pressures, but for the most part, man, like I saw one play yesterday, one rep yesterday, where like the left tackle just puts him in the ground, right? Like that famous bend that we were all talking about early in the in the preseason and stuff like that, and how he's gonna be crazy good in the regular season. I just have not seen him put it all together and be explosive and as disruptive as we would want him to be. And yes, he's a rookie. Yes, in this game he did have I think he plays 62% of the snaps in this game. So he got a lot of work after Kyle Van Noy went out. So this was kind of like his real first opportunity to kind of get in a rhythm. And he did end up getting to Flacco, right? He got to Flacco, got him around his legs, wrapped him up, but Flacco got the ball out at the last second. So I feel like he's getting closer, but at the same time, don't be surprised if Mike Green takes a while. And when I say a while, I mean like you might not see any real production maybe until or later in the year. We're talking maybe like Thanksgiving, post Thanksgiving, something like that. When I don't know. What do you think though?
If it takes that long to get him going, then there's a problem. Because this guy was a top 15 pick that people were, he was getting mocked there before everything came out. So then there's a
So like
problem.
at what point, Alex, do we expect the sack? Because he didn't
I
get
think
one
this
in
week
preseason either.
against the Lions this week.
It's a good
I mean,
opportunity, right?
you're getting more snaps. Jared Goff isn't mobile by any means. The Lions line isn't elite by any means either. So if you line him up there with Matabika and Travis Jones and let's say Owe opposite of him, I'm expecting a sack this week for Mike Green, or I'll be fairly disappointed.
And a
Your
Penei
second
Sewell
round
right there
pick,
though.
it depends how they want to move him around. I think their one right tackle isn't. I mean, Sewell is an anchor. I don't. The other right tackle I don't think is the best. So I mean, here my thing is just you got to get to him this week. You have got to get to Jared Goff because when you get to him, he makes mistakes. Look at the game against the Packers and Micah Parsons. He was awful. Like the Lions win this week might have been a fluke. I'll be honest with you. They played the Bears. Well, in the words of
Yeah.
Grant Delpit, whoop de do. So when they went against a good defense in the Packers, they shit the bed. So
Yeah.
I've got to see you make an impact this week and show why you were drafted, and why we're getting covered as a top 15 pick. So I think this week you gotta expect something, but I'm hoping before the
Okay.
midway point, before mid October, we're getting something going because that's
Yeah.
a high draft capital on you.
Yeah, man. Because we're absolutely gonna need it. You mentioned the linebacker play. Roquan Smith, Teddy Buchanan having themselves a nice game yesterday. If they can continue to mesh, right, and then you can also get pressure with four up front with a Mike Green potentially. This defense is going to be unstoppable. Just as simple as that. It's going to be unstoppable. And as long as you have Kyle Hamilton flying into, the frame on the broadcast angle to make tackles and whatnot from pretty much anywhere on the field that he is, again, the, the, the defense would be unstoppable, man. The
And
defense would be
speaking on the
unstoppable.
defense and rookies,
Sure.
one rookie I want to talk about because we're not hearing his name, Malachi Starks. That means he's doing a good
Yes.
job.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
not. I mean, knock on wood, no really miscommunication in the back of
Right.
the secondary. Big plays aren't occurring on his side per se. I mean, even the biggest play is like probably 20 yards downfield, or the James Cook, which was a dump off. But outside of that, I thought he's looked really good and he's doing everything we've asked of him and then some. So not making mistakes. I'm like what I'm seeing from number 24.
Yeah. Yeah, Malachi Starks, when it comes to a safety, especially a deep cover safety like that, no news is good news, right?
Yeah.
No news is good news. So shout out to 24 Malachi Starks, Ravens first round pick. Hopefully he can start making some plays here soon. I thought he was gonna get a pick in this one, capitalize or bounce back off of dropping the pick last week against the Bills. But he's just been back there silently locking shit up, for lack of better words.
Oh
So
yeah.
good on him. Good on him. That's all you can ask for, exactly. But the Ravens do have a very, very big matchup coming up on Monday Night Football against the Detroit Lions, like we kind of spoke about. And to kind of put a bow on this one, I mean, it was overall, I think, just a clean game from the Ravens. A couple guys got a little banged up. Marlon Humphrey left the game with a groin. Obviously, like we said, Kyle Van Noy, he left the game with a hamstring. He might miss a few weeks. Harbaugh did say that neither of those I words were severe. He did say that after the game, but it looks like Van Noy's might be a little bit more severe. We'll continue to monitor Marlon Humphrey. But overall, no, a good game. Very, very happy that the Ravens got into the win column, and it is on to week 3. So with that being said, Alex, let's go ahead before we get out of here because we do have football coming on soon here, some
Yes.
AFC football as well. So definitely want to check that out. But some other things going on around the AFC North specifically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Joe Burrow. Joe
Mm.
Burrow yesterday leaves the game with an apparent toe I word. He hurt his toe. It comes out later that he's got turf toe, which on the surface doesn't ever sound like a super serious thing until like you actually find out what turf toe is, right? And it's something about like the structure of the of something in your big toe, and like you can't walk on it. It's super painful to walk and put pressure on it and push off and run and things like all the things that you need to be able to do to play any sport, not even just professional football, but pretty much any sport. You can't do it, and he's going to require surgery on that. So it's projected that Joe Burrow is not going to be playing for 3 months. 3 months, no Joe Burrow, right? So we're talking December when the Cincinnati Bengals can expect to get Burrow back. The Ravens, again, they play them on Thanksgiving Day, I want to say. So it's looking like he'll probably miss that matchup. But what's your reaction, Alex, to, and I want to get you guys' reactions in the chat as well. What is your reaction to Joe Burrow sustaining this long-term I word?
So the Bengals caught life this week. Carson Wentz is starting for the Vikings, so they could very well be 3-0. Just want to put that out there because the Vikings last night looked awful. Unless Carson Wentz, it's better than JJ McCarthy, but that's another day. As for Joe Burrow, everything we said about the Bengals line is kind of the truth at this point. You're spending all this money on Higgins, Chase, Burrow, Hendrickson, but you're just trotting out a couple of guys from the YMCA as your O line. And that's what happens. Now, Burrow's going to miss in 3 out of his 6 years more than half the season. I
Mm,
feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for the
yeah,
team because this is their own problem. I'll stand by it. They should have traded T. Higgins 2 years ago or last year. Get the money get the picks for him. He can go sign a big contract elsewhere. But now you have all this cap into 4 guys. Not really the same, but imagine if the Ravens would have paid PQ a big contract next to Roquan's 100 mil. And they were complaining because our secondary is getting burnt it was last week, but our secondary every single game getting burnt. D line get beat. We can't stop teams. We don't
yeah.
really. We kind of deserve that if you're putting all this money in that position. So it sucks for Burrow as the player, but as for the team, it's a problem they could have avoided.
Yeah. Um, I'll just say it right now. Their season's over. The season's over. I think that, without a Joe Burrow, I know Jake Browning came in the game and it didn't really look too different, right? Like they still were kind of competent. But, long term down the stretch, if you don't have Joe Burrow, who I think is a phenomenal quarterback, I think that he deserves to be firmly in that top 4. But with him getting hurt like this, I think that it would be fair if you would want to bump him down a notch and maybe you elevate depending on how he plays tonight, maybe like a Justin Herbert into that 4th spot. And we talk about top 4 Mount Rushmore of current gen quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Because like we always say, The best ability is what? Availability. And like you said, 3 out of his 6 years, missing so much time, all that time. Like, this doesn't happen to Patrick Mahomes. This doesn't happen to Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. Not anywhere near the clip that it happens to Joe Burrow. So I think when we talk about like ranking quarterbacks now, if again we're you know, if availability is a part of the criteria, Joe Burrow might start to slide a little bit, man.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what I mean. 3 months. That's minimum.
Yeah.
That's the best case scenario. We're at, they're saying you can't really throw on the run. I mean, with that, it's gonna be hard for him to come back. So maybe they just kind of call it a season. But Jake Browning isn't the worst guy to have behind him, and when you have T and Jamar, that makes things
Yeah.
easier. But no run game hurts as well. Chase Brown's not gonna be the guy you can kind of give it to and expect him to run you to a win. So
Right.
Bengals, I mean, even that first game, like looking at it with Joe Burrow, they scraped to beat the Browns.
Yeah.
We just wiped them down. It's
Yeah.
There's definitely levels to this.
There's levels to it, man. There's levels to it. But yeah, I mean, definitely prayers up for Joe Burrow. Hopefully he gets better.
Yeah,
Never want to see guys go down. It seems like everybody right now is getting hurt. It's kind of scary, low key. Like you mentioned, JJ McCarthy, he gets hurt yesterday. Um, Austin
Eckler on
Eckler, I know, is
Thursday.
out for the season. Yeah, like there's a lot of guys getting hurt right now. There was another big name too that went
Um,
down. I can't
couple
remember.
of
It's escaping
couple
me
of
right now.
Steelers defensive players went down. Um,
Mm.
I mean, speaking of them,
Yeah,
wasn't
let's end it
expecting
with the
that
Steelers.
yesterday.
Yeah.
34-17. I'm at the game and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, like okay, Seahawks are up. It's early first half, third quarter, and then still didn't come back, and I'm like, 34-17. What the hell happened? I see the Caleb Johnson just have an absolute blunder.
Yeah.
That's that was baffling. And then on 3rd and 20 in the red zone, they score a touchdown. Like that is not the Mike Tomlin teams I'm used to. But after that first week, man, them Aaron Rodgers fans, they were out there. But that's kind of going to be the Steelers this year. It's going to be a week to week team. You don't know who you're going to play.
Yeah. I mean, and when you're talking about the performance yesterday, I'm kind of reading through some of the stats here, Alex, and I think the difference is, well, the biggest thing is that the Steelers can't run the football. They can't run the football. You know what I mean? Like Jalen Warren, 14 carries for 48 yards, 3.4 carry. Kenneth Gainwell, 5 carries for 20 yards. I mean, like, that's not gonna cut it, especially in a Steelers, run offense. And if you're putting all that on Aaron Rodgers to really, you know, carry your team, I just don't see. And then of course, the fact that they can't run the ball means that their defense is going to be on the field. And that probably led to some of their guys getting hurt because their defense is on the field so much. Let me look at the time of possession for this game, see who won time of possession battle in this one. I would love to know. Would love to know. So yeah, I mean the Seahawks edged them out in time of possession. It was actually the same difference that it was with the Browns and the Ravens, interestingly enough. 31 minutes to 28 minutes. So I mean, Seahawks possessed the ball more. Aaron Rodgers made a couple of mistakes. I know there was a tip pass that led to an interception. Not totally his fault. He threw a deep ball too, ended up being intercepted, but you can't turn the football over, especially if you're not good at running the ball and keeping your offense on the field and their offense off of the field. The best defense is offense, man. The best defense is a great run game. That's what it is. So as long as they don't have that, I think the Steelers will continue to struggle, man.
And I'll tell you this right now. Speaking of running backs, could really use Keaton Mitchell yesterday. Really could have used him because when he's on the field, you don't know
Yes.
if it's a run or a pass.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh. I'm
so
so
here's
glad you
my
brought
thing.
this
I'm
up.
not mad at Jair being inactive. I'm really not. I
Mm.
understand it. It's frustrating though that we had to kind of give him a vet game off because he's not fully there.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna get Rasheen Ali for special teams wise. But this man Keaton Mitchell, we saw the burst in preseason. It's not like he wasn't looking fast, wasn't looking shifty. It was there, and have him
Yeah.
inactive. Like when he's in the field, you don't know if it's the run or the pass. So that's why I'm like he would have been perfect yesterday because you want to stack the box, cool, screen and throw it to your receivers. But now it's like he's got to play on Monday. I think.
Yeah, I think with Rasheen Ali, of course, he gets evaluated for a concussion after the very first kickoff. I don't know what the results came back as, but I don't think he came back to that game either. So
Yeah.
you never know. Maybe we do see Keaton Mitchell, but I totally agree with you, man. And Harbaugh actually made the argument, I think last week at a presser, on why Keaton Mitchell is a healthy scratch, Um, and he was basically just saying in so many words, like, it's so hard to get Keaton Mitchell meaningful snaps in the game because, I mean, there is a Derrick Henry and there is a Justice Hill. And whenever you put Keaton Mitchell in the game, the entire defense are going to be like kind of keying in on, okay, why is he on the field? You know what I mean? Like, we know what's happening with Derrick Henry. We know what's happening for the most part with Justice Hill, third downs. He's going to pass block. Um, but why is Keaton Mitchell on the field? And when, like, it also would be interesting to know what downs they would put him out there on the field as well. But I agree, though. I agree. I think you got to get a little bit more multiple in this run game, get a little bit more less predictable, less Henry reliant. And as crazy as that sounds, me personally, I would love another, huge top 3 running back season from Derrick Henry, but he's only getting older. He's not getting any younger. So I would rather, if we can use some of these younger guys, Keaton Mitchell, you never know what you might have in him. You don't. I mean, you saw it in his rookie season how he was literally just flying by guys, like running by entire secondaries, right, with that speed, and he's gotten that speed back. So I think that he deserves, of course, he's not going to be pass blocking things like that, but I think he deserves a couple plays drawn up for him, man. I mean, especially while, there's no Pat Ricard, get something going for Keaton Mitchell, right? I think he deserves to play.
And you bring up Pat Ricard, we are missing his presence big time. I thought
Oh,
Zaire
yes.
Mitchell had some pretty good blocks, but man, Pat Ricard is missed dearly, big
Yeah,
time. So I think getting him and Likely back, they're not household names by any. Maybe Likely, I don't think he's really a household name yet. Not gonna put a cap on his potential, but
right.
those two guys I think can really elevate this offense to the next level. I'll be honest with you. So can't get those guys back soon enough. Don't want to rush him back. I think Pat Ricard's week to week, but I think Likely makes his debut against the Chiefs week 4.
I think likely could be back this week, to be honest with you.
I hope, but if
I'm
he
thinking,
practices
an
this week,
extra
maybe.
day to prepare because he practiced. He was limited last week in practice, so I think that at some
Oof.
point this week he might have a full practice, maybe on Wednesday or Thursday, and then he'll be a go for Monday. He gets that extra day as well, so I don't know. We might see him. We might see him. The thing is, though, we definitely need him. But
We do.
Patrick Ricard, I think, is even more important, to be honest with you, because to be honest, I mean, Lamar Jackson, after seeing what he did, he's able to feed Devontae Walker for 2 touchdowns, a quote unquote wash DeAndre Hopkins for
Mm.
one, which should have been 2 touchdowns, a Tylan Wallace who I saw on Twitter, somebody called Tylan Wallace, like, who is this DoorDash driver? Got him a
Yeah.
touchdown. Go ahead.
All right. See, it's because we're Ravens fans, and I know exactly what clip you're talking about. You're saying
Yeah.
that because you put your own money on the game. And I get that, but
Mm,
you look at like what Tylen Moss has done. The Rams game won us that. The Bengals game last year in Cincy, 2 clutch third down conversions on game tying drives in the fourth quarter, and just
yeah.
all around special teams player. I mean, it's not every NFL fan's gonna know, but I think if you watch as much as we do, I think there are certain players we know in other teams that aren't 1, 2, 3 receivers, but you know the
Right.
4, the 5s. And
Yeah.
I hate that I know the 4 and the 5 for the Bengals because they've made plays against us. Hell, even the Browns, we know them. But I'm not gonna have anybody slander Tylan Wallace because there's a dog inside of him, and we see it damn near every 4 weeks. It happens.
Yeah. Sam said it right there in the chat. Hold on. The chat's moving kind of quick right now. Let me see. Got to bring up Sam's comment. Sam says, no Tylan Wallace or Kolar hate on this channel. Period,
Yeah,
man.
it's not happening. We appreciate those players that on the stat sheet it might not show up, but you can see their impact.
Let me see. Let's go ahead and end it with this one here. So Love West has a question for it. Says, who Zay playing? How's Zay playing? How much receiving yards y'all see with Zay? Because I see 1,100, maybe 1,200. But if that happens, will the Ravens fork up 30 mil plus for him, which is the going rate now for wide receivers, especially around his caliber? So, well, what are
Yeah,
your thoughts on Zay Flowers? I mean, he's been so good so far. You know what I mean? I
yeah.
think he's got more receiving yards. He's got better stats than like AJ Brown and Devonta Smith combined so far on the season. Eh, Just saying, Zay Flowers is balling. But what do you think?
More than Jamar Chase. It's only 2 weeks, but that's kind of the start of the season he's had, which is really, really impressive. It's going to be hard to not pay him, I think, because he's homegrown. Like everything,
Yeah.
every sign points, you gotta pay him. The first Ravens receiver to get drafted to be a Pro Bowler. Ravens first receiver to even be a Pro Bowler in general, not even draft. So they're gonna have to maybe make something work out, especially the way Lamar and him have that connection. Hard to let him walk. So EDC is gonna have to make something happen, and the way he did it with Hamilton, I wouldn't be surprised if he can get it done with Zay. But I'm kind of in agreement with Broadway. 30 million a year is kind of crazy for him. 1,000 yard year. So if he can get maybe 1,200 this year and more touchdowns, I think that's all we're asking. Give me like 6, 7 touchdowns and maybe 1,200. Then you make an argument for that money, but it's still hard to give him all that when you have Lamar. You still got to pay. Um, Linderbaum possibly. It's likely. Oh
Yeah, but see, man, I just think that like with the way that the Ravens are using him right now, all signs point towards they want him to be a focal point of this offense. If they're not handing it off to Derrick Henry, they're finding Zay Flowers in some capacity. Here's a stat. Through 2 games, Ravens wide receiver Zay Flowers has 20 targets. The next closest pass catcher only has 8. And Zay Flowers has accounted for 42.6 of Lamar Jackson's targets through week 2, a major sign of the growing chemistry between the two. So not only is it that Todd Monken wants to make sure that Zay Flowers, especially with all the design plays, the jet sweeps, and the screen plays that they run for Zay Flowers, all design stuff. I think all signs point towards they want him to be a focal point. And then not just that, the relationship between him and Lamar Jackson is growing too because Lamar Jackson is finding him. You guys remember the what was it, third down and third and long, the
oh
Zay Flowers catch where it was like clutch to keep the Ravens offense on the field. Again, the best defense is a good offense that can stay on the field and keep the other offense off the field. There's no better defense that you can play other than keeping the opposing team's offense off of the field, right? And Lamar Jackson consistently, time and time again, will go back to Zay Flowers. Had 7 catches for 75 yards yesterday. So again, it may seem wild to pay him 30 mil a year. Maybe they work something out to where it's a little bit more team friendly. We know Eric DeCosta tends to be able to do that sometimes. But I think you got to keep Zay because D Hop's not going to be around forever, right?
no.
Bateman we just extended. Um, I think you got to keep Zay, man. You got to pay
So
him.
as of right now, it would be Zay, Bate, and Tez next year. D Hop's on a 1 year deal, and so is Tylen Wallace.
Yeah, man. You got to keep him. You got to pay him.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. So
Yeah. One final thing
okay.
came out yesterday. The Ravens in this past year's draft, man. We were gonna draft Shador Sanders. We were gonna do it. He was gonna be
Oh
a Raven.
yes,
We
yes.
were gonna be flicking up, and I'll tell you this right now: if we were to draft him, that would have been the quickest DH gate purchase I ever would have had. I would have purchased his jersey immediately. I would have been wearing the quarterback 3 jersey, but he said no, 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 no. He does not want to play behind Lamar MVP. He wants to go somewhere where he can be a starter. And
Yeah,
as much as I would like to see him in the purple and black, I understand it. Playing quarterback for the Browns is going to happen a lot more than being a Raven. But at the other side of it, like you're going to get playing time with the Ravens preseason. You're going to have probably every second half to play. Lamar doesn't play preseason. You're going to have
right.
games where if you show something good enough in the preseason, Cooper Rush is on a 1 year deal, so you can be our backup. And look what Tyler Huntley parlayed that into. But I think all in all, doing what he did was right. Going to the Browns, he has a better chance to maybe become a starter there than he would here.
Yeah, and my thing is I understand, Shador Sanders kind of standing on that and saying like, look, if I go to Baltimore, there is a 0% chance that I'm going to be able to start for
Yeah.
at least what? Granted, something catastrophic were to happen, like Lamar Jackson just falls off a cliff and he's just no longer, good at all at playing football. Yeah, if that doesn't happen, you're not getting on the field if you're Shador Sanders. And I think he knew that and wanted to go somewhere where, because again, we remember the draft. We remember how he slid so far. He fell so far. It seemed like damn near unfair, but he was graded as like a top 5 to top 10 quarterback talent in the draft. So it's like, I mean, if you're graded as a top 5 quarterback talent in the draft, yeah, like I would want to go somewhere where I'm going to get a chance to play, you know? And it's unfortunate that teams passed on him and passed on him and passed on him until they made it all the way to the 5th round. And the Browns just kind of take a flyer on him, right? I think it was I can't remember if it was the owner or the GM. I think it was the owner
Owner.
who advocated for drafting Shador Sanders, and I know why. I mean, from a ticket sales standpoint and just like an attention, as we live in this attention economy standpoint, like, yeah, you want to have a Shador Sanders on your team to kind of bring the eyeballs and put butts in seats. But again, I'm not mad at Shador Sanders for not wanting to play somewhere where he would have zero chance to start. I'm not.
Yeah, I still think the Saints should have at least picked him up, but that's a whole different conversation for a whole different day. But yeah,
Yeah.
that was definitely interesting to come out there. I mean, it was the Ravens definitely know we're in the market for a third quarterback, and maybe Cooper Rush is that 1 year deal, and they want a Shador to take over, but who knows? That's it's a mystery from now on. So he made a
Yeah.
decision, so good on him, and hopefully it works out with him in Cleveland because the way they're looking now, man, he could be starting. Who knows? Because didn't look too hot yesterday.
No, did not. Did not. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and leave it there and leave this episode 334 of the Purple Rain podcast here. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for watching live. If you're not watching live and you're part of the hashtag replay gang, thank you so much for coming through this episode. Make sure you leave a like on this video, and also subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date on everything coming out here from PRP. I am your host, Sutton Def. This is my co-host, Simply AS10. And with that being said, I'm going to toss it to Simply AS10 so he can close us out.
Yes, thank you for coming through to episode 334 of the Purple Rain podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. And as always, stay positive, test negative.
Yes, yes, yes. And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. This is episode 334 of PRP. We're going to catch you guys in the next one. Peace.